The fixed point lemma is the key step towards proving Gödel's incompleteness theorem. First, let's assume G to be a coding function for a fixed theory C. So G is primitive recursive and injective. Also, its inverse G-1 is primitive recursive on the codomain of G. Let Xi be a theory in which every recursive function is representable. In fact, since the proof we are going to see uses just primitive recursive functions, the requirement could be strengthened. Furthermore, let A be a formula which has exactly one free variable, let's say y. The lemma states that there is a closed formula delta A such that delta A is provably equivalent to A in which y is substituted with the numeral of delta A. Proof. The goal is to show that the idea is to synthesize delta A from A so that it enjoys the required property. To start, we look at A as a transformation. So, our goal is to prove that there is delta A such that delta A is equivalent to psi of delta A. Since substitution is complex to deal with, it is wiser to avoid it in the definition of psi. With this aim, we prove that B in which Z is substituted by K is provably equivalent to exist Z such that Z equals K and B, for a generic formula B and a generic term K not containing Z. So we can safely redefine psi as and thus define delta FB as exists Z such that Z equals the numeral of B and B. This suggests that delta A could be assumed to be equal to delta F of F for some formula F. Now, delta F is a function from formulae to formulae, which is evidently primitive recursive since the coding G is. So we can define delta N as delta F acting on the coding of formulae. Hence, delta N is primitive recursive because delta F is so. Then, by hypothesis, delta N is representable, that is, there is a formula delta with x and y as free variables such that assume delta A exists. Then by definition of delta A. By definition of delta N. Avoiding substitution. by definition of delta. Avoiding substitution. Hence, the choice for the formula F is evident. It must be exist Y such that delta and A. By definition of delta F. By definition of delta A. Quod erat demonstrandum.